Perfect aim. Domination. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. Eliminations. 4 at once. Perfect aim. 5 at once. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Object captured. Triple elimination. Merciless. Eliminations. 4 at once. Object lost. Perfect aim. Incredible. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Incredible. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Object captured. Object lost. Perfect aim. Domination. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Object lost. You rock. Insane. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. Eliminations. 4 at once. Perfect aim. Object captured. Perfect aim. Elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Eliminations. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Nice. Incredible. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Bang. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. Eliminations. 4 at once. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Eliminations. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Merciless. Nice. Incredible. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Elimination streak. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Domination. Incredible. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. First strike. Double elimination. Point A captured. Perfect aim. Point A is under attack. Point A lost. Elimination streak. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Point B is under attack. Perfect aim. Point B lost. Perfect aim. Elimination streak. Perfect aim. Point B captured. Bang. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Incredible. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. 4 at once. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Elimination streak. Perfect aim. Point A. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Perfect aim. Point A captured. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Incredible. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. 4 at once. Perfect aim. Domination. Point Point A is under attack. Nice. Point A captured. Point A is under attack. Perfect aim. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Bang. Nice. Captured. Perfect aim. Point B is under attack. Elimination. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Triple elimination. Perfect aim. 4 at once. Perfect aim. Point B is under attack. Bang. Captured. Point B is under attack. Perfect aim. Incredible. Point B is double elimination. Perfect aim. Point C captured. Perfect aim. Domination. Double elimination. Perfect aim. Bang. Point C is under attack. Point C perfect lost. Aim. Perfect aim. Point C captured. Perfect aim. The enemy captured point. Elimination. Perfect aim. Domination. Perfect aim. Domination. Double elimination. Perfect aim.